guys, it's Sal from House of Guy Python. So in this week's video I wanted to go over ultrasounding some girls, and then as well as my opinion on purchasing ultrasounds and if I think it's worth it. So I hope you enjoy this week's video, and let's just jump right into it. Alright guys, so I thought we'd start off with a little bit of ultrasounding, so let's jump into that and then we will go over why I think it's worth it. Alright guys, so this is going to be the first girl we're going to ultrasound. This is an Enchi het blade. She's currently in the bin with the stranger clown right now. They were locked yesterday, but they have since stopped. Looks like the male is still trying. Classic. But yeah, really excited. So this, like I said, this is stranger clown to Enchi blade het clown. So hoping to hit some stranger Enchi clowns here. And this Enchi blade het clown is from Austin, from Royal Highness Pythons. She's just been eating amazing. I got her when she was, I think, like 400 grams. And she's close. I think she must be over 2,000 grams now anyways, but super excited, and let's get ultrasounding. So I just kind of wanted to show you where I'm ultrasounding her. So I usually just ultrasound her straight in her bin. I know everyone has different methods, but I usually just try to stretch her out kind of calmly. A lot of them will move around pretty crazily. She can move around pretty crazy, as you can see. So anyways, I'm going to take some ultrasound gel and my probe. All right, and then what I'm going to do is about 2/3 down her body without her striking at me. We'll see. And I'm just going to kind of put a little bit of pressure and go from the mid-body kind of upwards towards the spine, and then just scroll down and look for those follicles. So I've already seen them on the screen, so I'm going to move the camera here and kind of show you guys on the screen what they look like. Alright, and as you can see, there's her follicles. We'll get a good shot and then I'll freeze it. There we go. Now sometimes you just have to mess around with the angle to find them properly. Once you find a good spot and you're there, you can click freeze on the keyboard. Okay, and I'll show you that button right there quick. So there's a freeze button, and then there's set, and then you also have a mouse pad. You can connect a mouse, which I would definitely suggest. I'm going to be doing that pretty soon here. But anyways, so then once you want to measure, you hit measure with your set button here. You're going to go back, you're going to go over to distance, hit your set button, and then you're going to go measure your follicles. And I like to go on an angle. I know some people like to go straight up and down, but I like to kind of go on an angle here. And then right here in the corner, it'll tell you where she's at. So she has 15.4 millimeters, which is awesome. So let's hope that stranger clown can get the job done, and you know, we can hit some nice Enchi stranger clowns. And there's the female once again, just checking things out. I love her eye stripes, beautiful girl. But yeah, that's how the ultrasound works. That's the gist of it. There are many other functions and buttons on ultrasounds, but that's basically all I'm looking at is, you know, find that follicle size, and that way I can, you know, mark it down and keep an eye on her. And as she gets bigger, you know, keep pairing the male every 10 millimeters. So the next pairing would be 25 millimeters. And the next one would be around 33 or 35 is where I like to do that last kind of pairing. And sometimes I'll even throw them in just in case for another one, right before I'm expecting them to ovulate. So 3 to 4 pairings is what is key. I'll do more sometimes, to be honest with you, if the male only is seeing a couple of females. But again, that's the nice thing about having the ultrasound, is you can choose. You know, if you only want them to see her 3 times, you know, you pick your marks, and that's all you have to do. Oh, before I forget, I always like to clean them off too after. I want to get all that gel off. There are different types of gels. One of my local friends actually just purchased a gel that is kind of more natural, so I think I'm going to pick that one up instead of this one. I don't think there's anything wrong with this one. Obviously, people have been using this one for a long time, and it's, you know, it's for human grade, so I mean, it should be fine. I don't believe there's any bad reaction that I've seen or heard of with snakes, but I'll look into that, and maybe I'll post that up on my Instagram when I find the link here. So anyways, guys, make sure you clean them off after. That's what I like to do anyways, and that's it for showing off the ultrasound. So Okay, so now that we used the ultrasound a bit, you guys got to see how mine in particular works. We got to see some follicles and everything like that. So what we'll talk about next is why I think having an ultrasound is worth it, which I do. Now I think it depends on where you're at in your collection and what kind of budget you have, of course. Ultrasounds are much cheaper than they used to be. I know there's people that used to talk about them being $4,000, $6,000. I picked mine up shipped for, I think it was about $1,600 all in, and that's Canadian, so like $4 American. No, but for real though, they are very cheap. They're easy to find. You know, there's a couple of them out there right now within that same price range, like under $2,000 essentially. And I think there's some that are even cheaper. I landed on this one because you know, I saw a couple people on YouTube use it, and it was suggested to me by a local friend here. So I went with this one, and as you can tell, it works perfectly fine. I can find the follicles every time. The one downside I will say that for me is that sometimes it can be hard to find the follicles if it's earlier in the season. So if the follicles are really small, it can be difficult to find them. I would say when you have more experience, maybe it isn't. For me this year, it's been a bit easier than last year, but I still have trouble sometimes, you know, when they're really small. I find once they get to the 15 millimeter mark, or even a little bit less, like 10 to 12 millimeters, it starts becoming a lot easier to see. And especially when they get past 15 plus, there's no way you can miss them as long as you know what you're looking for. There are tons of tutorials out there on how to use them and stuff like that. We looked at it today a little bit as well, so hopefully that helped. So the next thing I kind of wanted to talk about is when it's a good idea to get an ultrasound. So for me, if you have kind of like 8 to 10 plus girls at the breeding weight or just getting to breeding size, that would probably be a good time to invest into one. If you have less than 8 girls, let's say like if you have like 5 or 6 girls and they're younger, they're not quite there, you know, obviously it's probably not a good idea to invest that money, but that depends on your budget too. You know, if you are trying to keep a small collection, you don't want to go past 4 or 5 animals, but you have a really powerful male and you know, you just want it as something to kind of play around with, and absolutely, I still think it's worth it at today's current price rate. If it was $4,000 to $6,000, that's why I would understand people saying not to get an ultrasound. For that much money with such a small collection, it probably just isn't worth it. But because they are much cheaper nowadays, I think it still is worth it if you can budget it properly. So it's something that you kind of have to figure out if it's something that fits into your budget, or if you would rather spend that $1,600 on a really nice animal. So it is something you kind of have to figure out for your own collection, but for me it was worth it. So I just kind of wanted to go over like why I think it's worth it. Basically, I feel especially, and it's so funny because when we think of ultrasounds, we always think of the females, but for me it's the males. It's worth it to me if I have a new male. Like for me, like this year, having my stranger clown just starting to breed, now I can utilize him where I'm not putting him in as often as I would have if I didn't know where the girls were at in follicular development. So now I can put him to more females and try to get more clutches from him than I could have if I didn't have the ultrasound and didn't know where they were. Because I would just be throwing him in every single week to a different female. And some of these females, they could be eating like crazy, you know, hanging out on the cool side once in a while, and I'm thinking, oh yes, nice, they're building. And then some of these girls where I think that and I'll ultrasound them, can't really find too much in terms of follicular development. So I would have been putting him in there, you know, wasting his energy and his good stuff, and you know, not getting anywhere, and I would have just been tiring him out or taking the risk for him to stop eating and, you know, having to stop pairing him and stuff like that. So it really is worth it in my opinion, and especially for your males. Now obviously for the females it's awesome because you can kind of go through that too, but like I said, for me it's more the importance of the males and keeping them healthy and energized and stuff like that, so you can keep putting to different females. And then obviously for the females too, it's just seeing where your females are at, reasoning as to why has this girl stopped eating randomly? Like, is she building, or has she just stopped eating for the year? And another thing too is checking in for reabsorption. So this is another nice tool for that, where you know, she was building, you palpated her, you felt something if you're good at palpating, and then she's starting to slowly reabsorb, but you're still pairing that male, wasting his energy once again on a female that just isn't gonna go for you. So yeah, guys, I think overall, I would say it is worth it as long as it's within your budget and you have the right amount of females, and you don't have, if you have 6 males and they're all powerful, and you have 5 females, I don't know why you'd have a collection like that, but if you do, it's no offense, but if you do have that size collection, maybe you don't need an ultrasound because you have lots of males who are up to breeding size and never go off food, and your females lay every single year for you at the same time. Maybe it's not worth it, but overall I do think it's worth it at the price point. It's a pretty small investment comparatively compared to what we're getting into here, so to me it is 100% worth it. All right guys, so that's it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed this one. So basically, like I said, to me it is worth having an ultrasound when you hit a certain point in your collection and you have enough females, and more importantly too is if you have a really powerful male and you want to use him to a bunch of females, and he is on the younger side, or he typically will go off feed during the season. Either way, it's nice to have that ultrasound to know exactly at good points to breed him and not overwork him with a bunch of females, and you just keep popping him in. Now, of course, like I've mentioned, there are some people that are really good at palpating, so if they've been doing that for years and it works for them, there's no need for them to get an ultrasound. So it's not for everyone, but if you have that money and you're just starting out and you bought a large amount of snakes and they're all coming to size, etc., I do believe it is worth it. It's helped me tremendously. I suck at palpating, to be honest, and it's just helped me take notes and kind of know where my females are at, and that way I can build to the point where I know how my females act, and when they're around that size follicular growth, I know their behavior a little bit better, and I can kind of key into that using the ultrasound. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this week's video. I look forward to next week's video, which should be a new snake that I have purchased. She's already here, but I'm excited to show that next week. And yeah, I hope everyone can like and comment this video. It means a lot to me. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you next Saturday. And stay positive and focused.